For most of us, our knowledge of the Mafia begins and ends with Hollywood. From the Godfather to Goodfellas to the Sopranos, there's a sort of romantic allure around the Mafia, made men who scrapped their way from nothing into a long line of dons and crime families. It's all about the money, the power, and a somewhat paradoxical code of honor. But the real story of the Mafia is much more intricate, painting of colors of violence, loyalty, and a sprinkling of bootlegging on top. It stretches back centuries and crosses continents, from the sun-baked hills of Sicily to the bustling streets of New York City. So today, we're taking our seat at the table with the history of the 5 families, the real-life story of the Godfather. But before we get buried under too many names and families, make sure you've subscribed to Memory Lane channel. After that, leave us a comment and let us know what other crime families you want to hear about. Time to make you a video you can't refuse. Starting in Sicily's picture-cube, olive tree dotted lands, a group of men decided they had had enough of the local government arrogance. They formed group to protect their communities from those in power, which sounds really nice and noble until you realize their protection involved coercion, extortion, and the occasional broken bone. By the mid-1800s, this group expanded and then blended into one another to become the Sicilian Mafia. Around the same time in Naples, the Camorra crime family was stirring from the shadows of prison cells, ready to get out and join the fray of criminal activities. Fast forward to a few decades, and as Italians began pouring into the United States, they made their homes in the melting pot of New York City. Neapolitans gravitated towards Brooklyn, while the Sicilians settled in Harlem and Manhattan. Inevitably, their crime ventures crossed paths and escalated into what came known as the First Mafia War. The Camorra and Sicilian factions were at one another's throat, each trading blows until Don Elino Marano of the Sicilian Lord Nicolas Morello, the Sicilian leader, to a supposed peace meeting in 1916. The ceasefire was one-sided and Marano killed the Sicilian leader and his guards. This would inevitably fuel Marano's downfall when his own man, Ralph Danilo, turned Marano in for the murder. In the aftermath, the Sicilian Mafia became the dominant force, absorbing the scraps of the Camorra into the ranks. Amid all the chaos and violence, a man named Giuseppe Joe Masseria emerged. Masseria had been involved in crime most of his life in his native Italy, eventually fleeing a murder charge in Sicily. He landed in New York in 1903 and joined the notorious Morello gang, which had emerged as the city's first major crime family. Masseria's rise was nothing short of meteoric. When Giuseppe Morello and Ignazio the Wolf Lupe were sent to prison during the 1910s, Masseria saw an opportunity. Salvatore Tutto the Aquila, another landing figure in the Morello gang, became the self-declared boss of all bosses, Capo di Capi. However, Masseria was not one to be outshone. By the early 1920s, after numerous attempts in his life, Masseria had firmly established himself as Joe the Boss and earned the entirely too accurate nickname, the man who could dodge bullets. His rival De La Aquila was eliminated in 1928 with a little help from Masseria's ally, Charles Lucky Luciano. With De La Aquila out of the picture, Masseria took over as the Capo di Capi. But getting to the top of an organized crime family is like coming in second at a pie-eating contest. Masseria just replaced one rival with another and found himself dealing with Salvatore Maranzano, a new player in town from Sicily, who would soon turn everything on his head. Maranzano had been sent by his boss, Don Vito Ferro, who expanded his influence in the United States. He set up shop in Brooklyn, built a thriving real estate and bootlegging business, and quickly amassed a loyal following among fellow Sicilians. By 1930s, tension between Maranzano and Masseria's group were sky high, leading to the infamous Castellamarese War. This wasn't just a small scrap between neighborhood rivals, it was an all-out war for control of the Mafia's future in New York. Initially, luckily Luciano and Vito Genovese supported Marescia, but as Maranzano gained the upper hand, they saw the writing on the wall. Luciano struck a deal with Maranzano, and on April 15, 1931, Marescia met his end at a Coney Island restaurant, leaving Maranzano to emerge victorious.